It's just one of those things you read and it's like, it's exciting, you know. And also, you know, doing kind of a World War II kind of thing is, you know, this is obviously set in a science fiction world, but there's still, you know, a lot of truth to it, and there's stories that still need to be told. I think those kind of stories from that era. There's the reality of war is in it, and yet you've got this kind of science fiction element to it. So it's, you know, it's an exciting kind of action movie in that respect. Chase is a war correspondent. He's a photographer, and he's probably out of the group the one that's kind of that's maybe, not that anyone of that time was like completely war ready, but he's probably the least of them that is. You know, he's probably the least feels like he's cut out for it. And he's probably the misfit or the runt of the group. You know, and his weapon's his camera. You know, he's there to tell that story and stuff. He'll have obviously gone through, you know, basic training and things like that, but you know, he's not really there to fight the war. In his respect, he's there to fight the war by documenting it. Chase, obviously, I think is trying to spends a lot of time trying to find where he fits into the group, and a lot of times he'll come up with suggestions that are probably knocked down. You know, I think him and Tibbet have quite a maybe on the outside quite a fun relationship to see, because they come from completely different sides. I see kind of Chase probably being a bit more from an upper class background, more involved with the arts, whereas Tibbet's, you know, more someone from the streets who's like, you know, he's brash, you know, like, and so they clash a lot. And that was invaluable. That was, and probably like one of the best times I've had on the production, like in terms of just the five of us being together with Freddie as well. It really like very quickly got to know each other very, very quickly, and then, you know, just being out, you know, in terms of being out, like we would go for night patrols, like midnight, you know, in the middle of this forest where there was no one for miles, and we're walking through this, and you know, it's all about, and Freddie, who was there, he was like the military consultant, you know, was all about things being very real, of course, and you just get a sense of what that must have, a very small sense, but what that must have been like to be out and every single twig cracking or, you know, animal or bird or whatever is going about in the forest. You know, you just wouldn't know. It just must have been the scariest thing you can imagine. But yeah, we did that. We fired off a ton of World War II weapons. We kind of like, they showed us things to do, like how, you know, if you were in the midst of a minefield, how to kind of check for mines. And we would go on these kind of long walks, all with, like, you know, you've got a lot of gear on and stuff like that in those times. And yeah, you have to be pretty fit. It's pretty grueling, kind of just going out and doing the marches and stuff like that. It was definitely tough, and you got like 50 pounds of gear on your back, you know, that we kept on all day with your parachute and all that kind of stuff, and it's this really kind of claustrophobic, you know, metal can you're sitting in, and they had these big hydraulic stilts which would move and let the plane bank, and so it's a bit of a daze now. And looking back on it in hindsight, I've got fond memories of it. When we were in there, I remember we really didn't enjoy it. This whole set is a huge maze they've built over a whole studio with all these different little rooms. I don't even know if they'll use all of it, but the attention to detail is just incredible. When we went down to the French Village, me and Wyatt and stuff were walking, and John were walking about talking and just being like, just little things down to the little moss, or they planted like 1,000 or more of these, you know, sunflowers that were decaying in this field, and it just, the attention to detail just looked, I mean, it was like being in the middle of a painting. I think he's a fan of movies like this from having talked to him. He obviously gets, you know, he's serious when he needs to be, but he gets, you know, he can be excited on set about certain things which can be infectious. You know, when he's very specific about the action. He knows about that kind of stuff, like about, you know, weapons and all that kind of stuff. And the way big set pieces should look, you can tell he's got a very good eye for that kind of stuff. So you feel very comfortable being in his hands with that. I think there'll be a lot of action. There'll also be a kind of emotional story running through it. I think there'll hopefully be characters that you can learn to love or hate, and it'd be exciting.